I know it's a little obscure, and I know I think everybody's heard "Merry Christmas, Darling," if you listen to the radio or anything like that.
It's definitely on like the top 40 Christmas stations. All that.
But that tune does everything that I need in a Christmas tune. One, it's a little out there. It's got a huge orchestral middle, and then it comes back down. So I think let us know in the comments which one you like. "Merry Christmas, Darling" by the Carpenters, which I have no issue with, or Julie Andrews, and again,
Hark the Herald Angels sings, right?
The Christmas with Julie Andrews album is another great album to put into your collection of Christmas tunes. Not every song on it's a winner, but there's some good ones. And so I think now would be a good time for us to make a little bit of a transition into something we haven't touched much. But
not even on Bid and Guy music. I don't think we've touched our background on sacred music at all.
No. So the time at this point in my career as not much of a musician, but Christmas time is the one time where I generally will find myself taking gigs, and usually they are sacred.
So it's not.
No, it's
no.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I was
big piano.
And more lately, switching back and forth between piano and organ.
I think you and I share very similar skill sets on the organ in that it's like this, right? What's happening down here on the feet?
And the older I get, the more I got to do to find my feet.
gotta tilt back a little bit.
I just have one of those big bus mirrors, just hang it right there. Okay, there we go. So I was, and I'm actually gonna I'm gonna skip in line.
Okay, no, that's fine.
If that's all right with you.
No.
So I'm gonna play probably a tune that I've done quite a bit. I want to let our home viewers know we're going to spend a little bit of time in sacred music because there's a lot of it. So this is somehow I grew up in Southern Baptist churches, and Christmas in the Southern Baptist Church was very much take a sacred Christmas song and then jazz it up. Right.
Okay.
And so a Southern Baptist Christmas production is going to have a lot of like secular songs, and then the actors realize that they've missed the meaning of Christmas, and I actually almost brought like some of the Christmas books from my.
Ooh, I wonder. Maybe in the next break, there's one. I think there's one behind you. We might take a look at.
The song called Heirlooms.
Did you ever play Comfort and Joy? Did you ever play that?
Mm-mm. No,
okay.
But it's all Claire Coninger,
yeah.
All that stuff. And so then somehow, when it became known that I was gay, Baptist churches that I helped stand up productions at.
So you're saying this fiber optic Christmas tree and cable knit sweater didn't come from your Southern Baptist church tradition? Okay.
No.
Just making sure.
So, we would stand, like being a part of standing up, those showy Christmas productions kind of ended. But then what sort of came in was I started getting picked up by like Episcopal churches and stuff like that to do Christmas tunes. So this next one, it's a completely different type of church Christmas service, right? So, normally there'll be like a study of carols or something like that that's played as people are coming in, and that's usually some
lessons in carols.
Lessons in carols. Yes. And so, when at the church that I occasionally work at now, but was doing a lot of Christmas stuff at, they would have a full, a 30-piece orchestra come in for Christmas Eve services because it was a big deal. So we would do all of these tunes, and then we always did this. I promise you, this is a funny story. We always did the Adeste Fidelis for the intro. Like the trumpet voluntarily.
David Wilcox.
Is it Wilcox?
Yeah, Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That gets real funky, by the way. If you talk about a bitch to play. I mean, because that actually was one that I was going to bring up later. But go ahead.
So
Let's talk about it.
So it's both of our songs.
Okay.
So here I am, right, and I'm doing lessons and carols at the piano. So I'm just playing stuff along, and we were doing a bunch of John Ritter stuff, like I saw 3 ships come sailing in, come sailing in, come sailing in. And then what we went into was the Carol Symphony.
I'm not familiar with that.
You never heard the Carol Symphony?
Well, we might have to do that.
Okay. Well, so we were doing the Andante Cantabile, the first movement of the Carol Symphony. So it's just musicians. So that way, all of the choir can get out of the choir loft and back to the back of the church to march in to let everyone know that everything's starting. It's Episcopal church, right? So at this point, what happens is that I transition from the piano to the organ because the choir director who plays the organ in an Episcopal church usually has to go stand in the lobby and give everyone their downbeat because, vocalists can't start a song unless someone waves their hand. They cannot be blamed for what's going to happen. They cannot sing Adeste Fides, which is O Come All You Faithful.
In Latin.
And they sing it, O Come All You Faithful, without a downbeat. So,
not to be confused with the Celine Dion Feliz Navidad we just heard in Latin.
So here's what happens. I'm sitting at the organ. It's a trumpet voluntary, right? So the trumpet players come out of the orchestra, which is right here. We're all behind a choir screen, but they come up and they stand next to me because the organ is closest to the altar. And they walk up, and we're about ready to start. I'm sitting here because the trumpets start, and they lean over and go, "Ooh, they didn't put it in our notebooks. They didn't put it in our. We don't have it." And I was like, "Well, okay." So I'm just sitting there. And in a moment of utter pure stupidity that started a cascade of failures, I said, "I have the reduction up here. Just play it."
So it was the reduction in trumpet key?
No. And I didn't realize it. And so they start, and I'm like, "That's not right." So then I'm turning to the trumpet player, and I'm like, what key is trumpet in? What's trumpet? What note? I can't remember what note. And he goes, and he just looks at me, and they're playing, and he's like, and he takes his trumpet, like, "This is a trumpet."
It was not. Now for the viewers at home, what key is a trumpet in?
Concert B flat.
That's right.
So all their music has to be written down 2 steps. And my orchestra reduction, because I was on an organ, which plays in concert C, just like our pianos do. The trumpet part was written in concert C.
Concert C, right.
So they were playing 2 steps up, right? So they were actually playing in D, which wouldn't have been unmanageable, right?
Right.
But then the next thing I'm doing, because he won't tell me, and I can't remember, for some reason, I'm sitting there with my hand on the transpose knob,
Oof.
about to hit the big chord that the organ picks up from the trumpet voluntary, and I just, in my mind, I'm like, trumpets are G. So I cranked that bitch up 5 steps, almost to maximum.
And a Schoenberg Christmas was born.
Someone in the audience went, "Oh!"
Oh, God.
I didn't stop, though. I was heads down. So now the choir, which was going to be singing here, is here, and they can't do it. I don't stop. I'm playing, and all of a sudden I see this hand go in front of my face, and I hear, "Stop!" And I turn, and it's the choir director who has fled down the aisle on the outside.
Sir. He stopped the airplane on the runway. Is that what you're telling me?
Abort.
Abort takeoff.
So I stop, and I'm looking around, and he goes, "I don't know what happened. We're going to figure it out later. I need you all to reset." Reset! So he walks out, and I look at the trumpet player, and I'm like, "What the hell is your concert pitch?" He was like, "Oh, B flat." I was like, you can read this if you want, but you got to take it down 2 steps. And then they looked at me and they were like, So at that point I was like, just, we got to go get. And what had happened was they had their music back in their stands, and then they had put stands of music for them next to me.
And it didn't have
so they just had to go back and get the notebooks off their stands and bring them up, and everything was. That is the worst. That is the worst. I have played hungover. I have played drunk. I have done a number of things, but that is probably the worst. And because, first, I don't blame myself for not knowing that it was concert B flat.
Okay. I mean, in the moment, it's amazing what will escape our minds as far as, if your anxiety is high and your adrenaline is up and you're just like, I got to do this gig, I got to play this, we got to get this going. You're just like, okay, this is my best guess. Here we go. Whether you're wrong or right. I look.
But what I do blame myself for,
what's that?
Is thinking that I needed to take the organ up 5 steps, 5 whole steps to match trumpet, and it never crossed my mind that they may not be able to sing this. Like in the debrief, what could we have done differently? The choir director, and he was right, was you should have just come in the correct key. It would have been weird for a minute, but
Well, I think you make that mistake once, and I definitely made that mistake before too. Because when you're transposing musical theater for some people, and you have one song in this key and one song in this key, I have definitely run through a gig and been like, "Whoop! Didn't take that transpose button off." Best of luck with that Sondheim tune.
Which is to the limit as it is.
All right, so we want to listen to You want to listen to this? "O Come All You Faithful"?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.